Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Diana's Treasures. It's a day in the life of an estate appraiser and liquidator. I'm Diana Minotti, and my co host, my husband, Perry Mitrano.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
hmm
You want to tell us a little bit about the gallery?
Yes, we're located at Palm Harbor Village Way 15, Palm Harbor Village Way, right here in the city of Palm Coast, Florida, right here in Flagler County, 32137. If you're coming up 95 or going down 95 and you punch an antique shop and you hit our 321 64 or 75 or 74 zip code, you'll take you right to our shop, and usually I'm
We
there.
do we do get a lot of traffic of people along the way.
Yeah, summertime now, people are on vacation, so they're popping by
Well, it's
all the
because
time.
we're less than a mile off the interstate. Great
Yeah,
place to stop,
that's right.
recharge.
Yeah, we've got some good restaurants right nearby. And also, our website is www.dianafineart.com, and you can find us there. A lot of our information, Diana's. Uh,
Well, we ask you to subscribe on the newsletter. We publish every Thursday, and it tells you the sales of the weekend and what's new arrival at the gallery.
right,
So, and also it has buttons. You can follow us on. You can like us on Facebook. If you go all the way down to the bottom, you can push on the Instagram button, Twitter X, and you can connect with us on LinkedIn. So it's a great way to stay apprised of what we're
but don't
doing, where
forget,
we're going.
we got our YouTube, right, with all of our shows on it, so you can really watch
Absolutely.
and learn a lot about what antiques and collectibles are all about. But today's show is much more unique because it really entrenches down into what you were doing to get started in the business, which is to take care of people that are going through either a difficult time, whether it's a downsizing, a passing, someone who just is going back to live with their children. And this is what we do for a living. And the antique shop is, of course, selected items that have come to the shop because we're an art gallery, fine art, antiques, and collectibles shop. But today's guest, we have Anne.
And
Is it my turn or your
go
turn?
ahead, go ahead.
All right. Anne Harduk from Dignity Memorial of Flagler Volusia County. And Anne, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And Diana has a bunch of good questions for you.
Absolutely. I am the area sales manager for Dignity Memorial, and my team helps families, just like you were just referring to, helping families through difficult times. We do that as well. We help a family that's had a loss. We help families plan ahead to try to remove burden and stress off of their families. Locally, we're here at Craig Flagler Funeral Home in Memorial Park on Old Kings Road, and it's actually a Flagler Beach address, but I think we're just about on the line of Palm Coast there.
That's a beautiful place.
It actually really
I have
is.
two friends there. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and that park has been open for more than 100 years.
Wow.
Y'all love history. There's some bricks that are there that go to the original road that goes all the way to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
Wow, the old
And
brick road.
yes, they are part of the park there. So we've got lots of ties to history in that park. And some of the founders of Flagler Beach and Palm Coast are buried there. We've also got a facility in Ormond Beach, Volusia Memorial Funeral Home and Cemetery there. And then in Port Orange, our Volusia Memorial Funeral Home. So we like to call them the same name, but they are two different facilities, beautiful facilities. Our funeral directors and our team of people, our staff there, are serving families to help them make decisions that are right for them and their families and help guide them through that grieving process.
Diana, how did you guys meet?
Well, I think we met before we met through the estate planning council.
Yes, ma'am.
Anne was one of our guest speakers, and it was very, very helpful. And the biggest takeaway I had gotten from it was the ability of being Dignity is more of a big umbrella company of many of the smaller, older companies that were originally in Flagler and Volusia, that you can offer a lot more services because families today, we're living differently. Everything is so much more global. We're not all living in the same house or the same town or like my grandparents in the same apartment building. We're kind of all over the place. And I found that what you were offering was far more than just the typical funeral arrangements.
Absolutely. So here in Flagler Beach, It seems that we have a lot of people that are here from somewhere else. They've moved here. They found this great little secret place to live, and a lot of people have moved here from other areas. So sometimes when they pass, we have to get them back home. So that happens. We also have families who move here and they want to transfer arrangements here. So we do that. So we can transfer arrangements, whether it's funeral or cemetery, anywhere in the United States, Canada, or Puerto Rico. Should someone be living here and maybe life throws them a curveball and they've got to go live with family somewhere else, we can transfer their arrangements there. So it's a really great system that we've got in our network to be able to help families that maybe life does change a little bit.
Well, things that you don't think about. What happens if you go on a trip to Europe and you pass away?
Absolutely. And you know what? That does happen, sadly. Cruise ships, it happens. So now we're in a foreign country and we've got that country's laws, regulations, U.S. laws, regulations to get back. We offer a fantastic travel plan for people who are traveling. Should they pass away, it's one phone call from the family. Medical aviation company comes in. They do all of the paperwork, cut through all of that red tape. They do all of the care of the body, and they get that person back home. So even if they're being cremated, we're going to get their body back home, let their family see, yes, mom or dad are the ones that came back home, and then cremation would be done here in the U.S.
So, I mean, the show is not just about death. I mean, the show is about celebrating life, and we have some very interesting stuff for show and tell. We'll get to that later. But would you like a little known fact about Perry? I know you may know, or maybe you forgot, but I don't know if you remember. But there were many years ago. A family member owns a funeral home in the Bronx, a Giordano funeral home, and I expressed interest to be an undertaker.
Okay.
But not the embalmer. I like the director.
Sure.
I really thought that when I witnessed what they did with my grandfather, it was very, I was young. I was very young. But what the person was saying on the other side of the desk was so impactful to me at the time that I felt like one day I would like to do that. And then I got other visions, which would have been probably to start with one funeral home and have 400 would have been the growth plan, okay, as a business person that I am, but, that neither here nor there about that. But anyway, that I felt it, and I actually worked with them for a little while. Not at that funeral home, at another place, but it was very interesting. I learned a lot, but I also watched how the compassion that the person can give because of the understanding. I felt it was very, very
It's a bit of a
moving.
calling, for sure.
I guess so, yeah.
And they truly, at the end of the day, everyone on my team would say, I feel good about the work that I do because I help people.
Mm.
And it's one of those, I guess, jobs or positions you really don't think about that's out there.
Yeah.
But you either really fall in love with it like you, where it touched your heart. And our
Diana
funeral
deals with
directors
everybody
do.
right up at the front. I mean, so.
Well, but before we moved to Florida, the Balsamo funeral home, the Balsamos were very, very good friends, and we would, meet and hang out at the office because he had to take calls or whatever. And you don't think about it. There's a lot of people, I can't go in a funeral parlor.
Sure.
I can't go there. And yet it was very warm and inviting for us as friends, and we would be there, and we were always talking about pre-planning, and I had my casket picked out. It was black cherry
for
with the pink
you.
interior and the gold.
It's something everyone should do.
Well,
Yes.
pre-planning. Let's
Yes.
talk about that and how important. I mean, when I meet people and we look at their contents, and I always say, you should have an inventory and an appraisal so that your children and your family know how important these particular items are to you and what you want to happen to them. And I think pre-planning your own funeral would really take the strain or stress off the family of, am I doing the right thing? Is
What's
this
the
what they
process?
wanted?
What's the process?
Well, Diana just touched on a really important thing. That's actually the number one reason why people do plan ahead, is because it does take burden and stress off the family. It is going to be the worst psychological, emotional, everything draining physically, the worst day of a family's life. To have decisions made in advance on a day when none of our brains works right, and a family can just say, Mom or Dad made a plan, we're going to follow the plan. It gives them a gift, peace of mind.
Absolutely.
They know they're doing the right thing. They know this is
Exactly.
what that person wanted. And that's important to a lot of us too, to get what we want and not get what we don't want. So pre-planning takes care of that. It also is smart financially because we all need this. This isn't a maybe. This isn't a I might not need this or I might need it. We all need this. We just don't know when we're going to need it. So when we can do that ahead of time, what we're doing is we're blocking inflation. We're locking in at the lowest possible cost for something that we're going to need in the future. And it's going to cost more in the future. But for those who have been smart financially and planned ahead, they're not paying that difference. And there's great convenient payment plans for every family, so everyone can afford to do this. Now, Perry, you were asking, what is the process? So what we do when we sit down with a family is we start to reflect on the things that are important to them. Most of the times people talk to us about their family, their loves, the things that they did in life that made them laugh and smile. And sometimes it's about jobs. Sometimes it's about traveling. Sometimes about collections like we're going to talk about today. And we begin then to record those. We've got some great tools. I'll show you one that is our personal planning guide. And we provide this absolutely free to every family. And it answers just an avalanche of questions that a funeral director will ask a family that day about 100 different big and little decisions. The first half of the book really lays out a plan of this is what I want for my service. This is what I don't want. This is what I want cremation. I want a casket. I want a mausoleum, whatever the family's deciding. The second half of the book is really going to help them with estate planning and closing an estate, and even some of the things that you deal with in your business. Then we actually support that. We put a plan in place, and that means putting some money behind that, making a plan that works for you. And then we encourage everyone, share this with your family that you've done this. Don't be surprised that they're going to be a little bit surprised and shocked. Oh my gosh, you did this. Who's sick? Nobody's sick. We love you. We're doing this in advance because we love you. And here's where all my important papers are. And when the time comes, you go there because everything's written down for you. So that's kind of 4 simple steps of how we take care of families in advance.
That's actually quite quite a good gift. Actually, when you think about it, it's not it's not morbid in any way. It's actually like, hey, I'm really planning.
Exactly.
So that's really
it's a
good.
gift of love.
It's a gift of love.
Another takeaway I got from your speaking engagement was the amount of community outreach
Yes.
that Dignity as a company does, especially in catastrophic situations. I was taken back. I really didn't realize how involved you were.
Absolutely. We're in communities where we see here in Florida, we're kind of worried about hurricanes. Some other states may be worried about floods or fires or earthquakes or other natural disasters. When that does happen in a community, we flood that town with resources and people and money to help them get back on their feet. And so being a large company that we are, we're able to do that. And we're going to give back in a lot of different ways. Also with our veterans, we've got a homeless indigent veterans program that we're just going to step forward and take care of those folks too.
That's really wonderful.
Absolutely.
And before we move on to the next segment, but
It's
can
time.
Okay. Ann, tell us again who you are, a phone number, website. Make sure we get all that for people. So if you can go ahead and tell us.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Anne Harduk. I'm the area sales manager. I can help you or help direct you to the proper people. I'm going to provide my cell phone as probably the easiest way to reach me because I do move around between the locations is 252-801-1662. That's 252-801-1662. My email would be ann.harduk, that's ANNE .HARDUK @dignitymemorial.com.
All right, awesome. All right, Diana. So we are, my favorite part of the show, which is show and tell.
Yes, we
right?
are.
And where would you like to start? Because we brought in a lot of items, but maybe we should start with our guest. All right, because I think that would be really cool to start with our guest.
Of what? Okay, because
Yeah.
we usually ask our guests, what is it that you collect?
Well, Diana, you asked me this a while back, and I told you I collect everything. So picking something to share with you today was really hard. But some of the things that I brought you to me are ties to the past, which speak very much to what we do in a cemetery and keep families together, as well as what you do with estate sales and plannings. So I actually have my wedding picture here. And you may say, oh my goodness, life has been hard. She looks much older now. Yesterday was actually my wedding anniversary.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, with my wonderful husband who's put up with me. And I'll give away my age here, 42 years. We have been together. We raised
Wow.
5 children together, 3 grandchildren,
good
hoping
one.
for a few more. Kids, come on, get on that. But we've had a wonderful time. We've enjoyed traveling together. And just, hey, it hasn't all been all rosy, but we've gotten through it together, and he's been a great partner for me. So that's a tie to my past. And then I brought you some lidded boxes. Some of these are quite old, and they're from Europe. And what's kind of cool about them is they have some inserts. So Perry, I'm going to pass you a couple of those. They have some tiny little miniatures, and they just make me smile. Some are from Europe. I bought from a collection at an estate sale.
There you go.
Diana, nod to you.
There you go.
And some are actually newer. And Jay Strongwater is a well-known designer. And this little rabbit that we'll show in a moment is one of Jay's collections. So those were just things that made me smile. I've got about 50 of these right now. As we travel, if I see something that's a lidded box, I will purchase it. There's a little
that
milk.
opens.
Yep, there's a little milk carton in the cow, which kind of made me laugh a little bit. But then as I collect things on my travels, it reminds me of the trip when I look at it, and good memories. We're trying to build good memories with our family and try to travel with our kids and grandkids as much as we can as well. So some of our younger folks may recognize this, and that's Madeline.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a little insert there that isn't removable, but they'll recognize her from TV and books and movies.
They're little porcelain trinkets, and the Europeans were pretty famous for that.
Yes. But to find these treasures at an estate sale was just wonderful to me. I didn't buy the entire collection, but I did buy about 50 pieces that just spoke to me. And then I've collected some of the newer pieces, like the Jay Strongwater bunny basket there that just was beautiful to me.
So the pieces that we've brought today, some of it's from our personal collection, some of it is from the gallery, which is available for sale. When we were talking about, well, what should be an appropriate show and tell item, we thought about, well, it's all about people. And so we have some portraits. I would like to start, these are extremely fragile. They're 18th century needlepoint in an oval gold leaf frame.
That's beautiful, Diana.
They really are stunning. The workmanship is beyond, and
Okay.
it's sad that we really don't do a lot of this today. But this was our, as a woman, this was your chore to show your artistic merit.
So this on the back, it's hard to see, but it's got an old tag on it, and it says Ipswich, which is Great Britain, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's how old this is. So take a look.
When we talked about, I had asked you, Anne, does the funeral parlor offer jewelry or items? Because I know that people want to have something close to them at all times. So there is this sort of memorial jewelry. This is a Victorian piece. If you want to hold this up, Perry.
Yes.
This is a woman at a monument. There's an urn in a memorial cemetery, but on the back is the locks of hair of that person.
And that was a very popular
Victorian era,
keepsake
for
in
sure.
that Victorian area. We do have some keepsakes that we offer as well with cremated remains or thumbprints or things like that for families that might be meaningful to have that person and that loved one always close to them.
We had we recently had a client, and his ashes were dispersed into this big glass charger. And when the sunlight came through, it was the most beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful item. This is also a locket, and the front is hand painted porcelain with enamel. And in the back, if you turn it around, Perry, there's also hair in the locket of that individual. So, again, very collectible. This is my mom had this made for me. My sister's ashes are inside this locket here, and it has a little message on the back, and I find that extremely comforting. Um, Here we have portraits. If you want to show these, Perry,
Okay.
these are hand painted. This is a hand painted. This is enamel on porcelain,
What what era are we talking here?
19th century.
Is that good, Mark?
And this one here is this is hand painted on ivory.
Wow.
They're beautiful.
Now, when we think of portraits, though, I had to bring this in. This is one of my little trinkets in my office, and it is a pewter reproduction of Norman Rockwell. It's the famous triple portrait, where Norman Rockwell is looking in the mirror,
that
painting
good,
a
Mark?
portrait of himself, of painting that portrait of himself. And I just get such a kick out of that. When we had our country home up in Austerlitz, Stockbridge, Massachusetts, his home, that little quaint town that you see depicted everywhere with all those
Yes.
people, it was like 7 miles away. We used to go over there for dinner all the time.
That's precious.
So can I talk about the Victorians real quick? Because, you know, that was a kind of a crazy group of people in an individual way, I have to say. So we have a piece of artwork. Are we going to show the big one here first?
Well, this is a pastel of that period.
Okay. How's that, Mark? All right. Well,
This was exceptional. The
It is.
lady we did an estate sale. This woman had passed, and this was her collection. And she had an artist friend who was down and out, and so she was always commissioning her to do works.
Wow.
it's a stunning piece. I
It
have
is
to say.
stunning.
So it's contemporary, but it looks like
Yes.
18th
beautiful.
century Rococo era.
Well, what I was getting to on the photograph, and this photograph right here, right, this is a photograph, right? Is that good, Mark, where it is?
That is a photograph, and this was a family that we liquidated recently. And the family photo, I mean, nobody in the family really knew who these people were because you're going back generations. But this is usually, people, when was a time that you would get your portrait done? And it was family gatherings. It was a woman or a man coming of age. It was a couple getting married. And quite often, it was someone who passed. And they would have their portrait done
Yeah.
as a commemoration.
That's what I was getting to. So this isn't Victorian. This is after. This is probably 1900s through to maybe the 20s, I would think.
Yeah.
All right.
The
So,
hearse.
but in the Victorian pictures, if you see a bunch of people sitting from anywhere from 1860s when photographs were really starting to come out, they would bunch the family up, very similar looking to that picture there, where the family would get together, but one of them was actually dead.
Yes.
In the pictures. So yeah, I mean that was like important. That was a serious thing for that. It wasn't not anything to make light of at the time. It was
Right.
like that. If you and also if you had money, you did take that picture. So that was very important. So and it's changed quite a bit. Obviously, that stopped whenever Victorians left.
Sure.
And we
Pictures
moved
give
on-
us a tie to our past, though.
Yes.
And that's important for folks.
Well, we're down to the.
Well, because I'm sure, like you ask people, bring in your photographs
Absolutely.
and put together a CD.
Very
ROM or
popular. We
flash
put it
drive.
together, but yes, it's very popular.
What is this, Diana?
Well, that is actually a Victorian photo album. It is in a blue velvet. It's extremely old, and we have it at the gallery, and we ask people not to touch it, that we will handle it for you. And it's full of cabinet cards, which was late 19th century into the early 20th century, and you can go through this entire album and really get a good sense of all of these family members. um, it's quite the collection. I find it very interesting because as you go through it, like my father's mother and all of her sisters, all four, they were seamstresses,
What is that?
and all of their wedding pictures, it was the same dress, but they would
Oh,
alter it four different times
sure.
for each family member because they didn't have the money back
Practical.
then to
What is
spend
this
on a
one, real quick?
designer dress. That's a Daguerre type. That's or a tin type. It's an early type of photography.
Okay, you
And
made
if
me bring this.
well,
Why did we
because
do silhouette?
if you couldn't afford a portrait, hiring an artist to come and sit with you and paint your portrait, they would do a cutout, a paper cutout, or well, you went from an oil portrait to a photograph, and then this was the least expensive would be to do a paper silhouette.
So this was done by Helen Inglesby, a Savannah artist. So this is a Southern gentleman here.
So we get quite a bit on silhouettes.
This one's
And
old.
some of them are very, there are famous silhouette artists, and they're very collectible.
His name is August Edovar. He was born 1789 to 1861.
So you're talking about all the way up until pre-Civil War era.
Somewhere in there it was done.
And these portraits are wonderful. We also offer something similar to our families that's on a canvas. It does look almost like an oil painting. And a lot of our families, probably most popular thing that we offer to display at their service.
Right.
And it really sets that final memory, how they want that loved one to be remembered. Maybe not sick, not in a hospital bed,
Right.
but hey, this is when they were happy, smiling, a better time. Remember this. And,
So
and that's-
you could take a photograph, and
Yes.
it's called a giclée, where it's
Yes.
computer generated, printed on paper or canvas, and
and framed beautifully, and they keep
nice
it in their home
concept.
as well. Yeah.
early, and I get people that say, well, who's going to buy this? It's somebody else's kid,
So this was a brooch,
But
right? This was a
that brooch
right?
was hand painted porcelain.
And this is.
That is a photograph, very early. It is a little girl, but people do buy them when you just want a nostalgic look throughout your house. It might
Yes.
look like I have a painting of a portrait by August Mosca. He's a famous artist. It's really well done, and I got to tell you, it does look like my son at the time. So I
It speaks
purchased
to
it.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was a local artist. His name is Renner,
Yes.
portrait artist, right?
Yes, he was a very well known regional portrait artist, and also taught. And we had done his estate. And
One of my last two favorites. Okay, this is one of my last two. Then my last one's my favorite. This is Whistler's mother, Diana. Cue us in. Who's Whistler and who's it and why?
well, Whistler's
why is
dates
this his mother?
are 1834 to 1903. It is an etching. It is probably a restrike because it was from the Vincent Price collection.
That you could have bought at Sears and Roebuck when Sears and Roebuck was a real company. Okay.
Sears, J.C. Penney, things like that. So to wrap it up,
All right, my favorite one.
Aw,
What do we got here?
well, Ann, you brought your wedding portrait. I found my baby picture.
I love it.
And so there you have it. You know it's me. I'm holding the blocks with my name. And that was a very popular thing to do back in the day. So,
You're very cute, baby.
yeah,
Aw.
thank you. So just to wrap it up in conclusion, DianaFineArt.com. You can pick up the newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter. You can look at our eBay, Shopify, Poshmark, and Marketplace stores. You can see our social media, like this show will be on our YouTube channel. Just to recap the week of sales, we had a sale called Swarovski and More. And if you missed out on purchasing those Swarovski collectible, those little crystal animals and peoples, they were very cute. They have been brought back to the gallery. What hasn't sold, I have some of that there. There was some really great Waterford goblets. We have those at the gallery now. And the remaining furniture, I still have the French Provincial Walnut dining room set and the trio of tables and a sleeper sofa. If you got company coming in this summer, the kids are coming down. I do have it's clean as can be. I don't think anyone's ever slept on it. I do have that. As far as upcoming estate sales for July, we have two really impactful sales. One is 98 Clubhouse Drive, beautiful view, $1 million home, lovely, lovely designer contents. And 29 Lagoon Way is just all brand new, lovely stuff. I think people would be happy to see it. Our gallery sales from now through the end of the month, we're going to celebrate and be patriotic and celebrate the 4th of July. So we will have all kinds of summer sales throughout the month. And the Estate Planning Council, we are taking a break July and August, and our next meeting will reconvene in September. So that's all I got for you today.
Okay, well, with that, Anne Harduk from the
Dignity
Memorial Flagler Volusia Services. We appreciate your coming in, and thank you for your time. And folks, we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And thank you, Mark.